Tonight we're joined as ever by regular Ander. Good evening, Ander.
Evening, mate.
So obviously quite a bit to get through tonight, so we're going to jump straight into it. And obviously me and you was at a live show on Saturday, so we was listening to this on the way back down the M1. But it's old Del Boy, bit of a review of the fight against tell me who he fought, Andy, he's got out of my head.
Pulev.
Well, I know we only listened to it, but where do you think Del Boy goes next? We've all reviewed the fight. We know people got their own thoughts, but where do you think Del Boy goes next?
Well, he's calling out Wilder, isn't it? Which I think is an absolutely crazy decision. It annoys me a little bit. Some corners of the boxing industry were blowing smoke up Del Boy's arse at the weekend. Mainly because they're his friends. Now, I know that everybody wants Del Boy to do well. And I know that he's got a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Don't blow smoke up his arse saying he's rolling back the years and everything's perfect. And it was a brilliant performance. It was a solid performance against a fighter that's way past his best. That's what people are kind of forgetting a little bit.
Yeah.
I think if he goes anywhere near Deontay Wilder, mate, he gets absolutely laid out. And I hate to say it because I like Del Boy as a character. I like the fact that he wants to keep fighting. I like the fact that he wants to earn money for his family. I think that's great. But Wilder's not for Del Boy. That's the sort of fight that does Del Boy some injury, I'm afraid. And nobody wants to see that.
It's got to be I think there's only one fight that makes sense. That's got to be Dillian Whyte. I don't think that Del Boy should be continuing. I've told you for a long, long time. I think he's spent. I'd like to know what the numbers were in that 0-2. I don't necessarily think the numbers were great with Del Boy. Good evening, Sean. We'll come to you in a minute, fella. So I think the only fight that makes sense really is a Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte's coming off a loss, so it's ideal for him to jump back in. And let's be honest, he'll stand toe to toe and do it all again, won't he? So, Sean, what do you think, Dillian? How did you see the fight, and who do you think's next?
Yeah, I actually saw it went in by a round or two. Yeah, I agree about the other one interesting is someone like Michael Hunter, is it?
Yeah.
I think that could be an interesting fight.
But obviously, Del Boy reverted to that tactic again where he backed into his own corner. It's not great viewing, Sean, is it?
No, I mean, I think he should retire personally. After it was in his hometown, what way to go out on. I think he needs money. I could be wrong, but he's doing it for the enjoyment. But really, it's not the seriously hurt, is it?
No, you don't play boxing, do you? So, Ander, who would you throw him in with next? Obviously, we're staying away from Wilder, aren't we?
I wouldn't want to see a Chisora Whyte 3. That's been done to death, mate. I really don't know, because he's not challenging anymore, is there? He's not challenging for titles, and the amount of money that Del Boy warrants for a fight, he has to be headlining. So it's got to be against the top end fighter. Otherwise, he's not going to get the money that he thinks he deserves as a fighter.
Yeah, I quite like the way Carl Froch actually fronted him, didn't he, in the interview, and says, from fighter to fighter, I want you to retire. And I thought, good on you, Carl. He had the balls to say it to his face.
What did Del Boy say to that?
He ain't retiring, was what he said.
Right.
So, yeah. So, obviously, it looks like Del Boy's going to continue. My money's on a Whyte showdown. I think financially it'll make sense for them both. And it's quite a good strategic fight for Whyte to come back in, isn't it? Because if he can't beat Del Boy, it's over anyway.
Well, the problem is he's knocked Del Boy out cold. I mean, I just don't understand. why there'd be a need or a call for that fight. I don't understand the public's enthusiasm for that fight at all, mate. And then you can say, I mean, okay, what about? Well, he's already. What about Joe Joyce?
Joyce won't jump. Why would Joyce jump in with him though?
If he needs another warm up, maybe for his world title.
Joe Parker,
maybe.
See, it's very difficult to match him, isn't it? Because if you're up there in the rankings, why would you take a Del Boy fight?
He's tough, isn't he? The probably Del Boy is he's really tough, and he's not going to make anyone look good. So if you want to impress as a fighter, I mean, you're not getting Del Boy out there easily. Parker's already seen that, hasn't he? In that second fight where Del Boy looked done after a couple of rounds, and Parker still couldn't get him out of there.
And that's why I can't get excited about watching Del Boy. Much as, you know, fair play to him, he's tough as old boots, no question in that.
Yeah.
But I can't be watching a boxer reverse into his own corner after about 3 rounds. It's just not a very good spectacle for me.
It's tough for a referee as well, because everybody knows that that's just a ploy, and he's going to start after 5 or 6 shots from an opponent. He's going to throw a couple of bombs back, so the ref can't stop the fight for it.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a strange one.
Let's move on from Del Boy then. So this is, I've not seen any official announcement for this, but it's as good as done by all accounts. Tim Tszyu versus Jamal Charlo. So I'll just go ahead and think I think Tim Tszyu is limited. I think he's well out his depth for this fight. And if it does take place, I think Charlo will stop him or knock him out quite early. So that's my thoughts. I've never been a fan of Tim Tszyu. I don't rate him. I've watched quite a few of his fights in Australia. And I think the first time he gets in the ring with an active opponent, he'll get beat. So I'm not sitting on the fence with that one, am I? So, Sean, what do you think about his fight?
Yeah, I agree. I think wins fairly handedly, and I think with Tszyu as well. I think in his recent fights, he's been losing on points, hasn't he? And he sort of pulled it back in the later stages. So I think in his skill set already, and I don't think it's enough to challenge Charlo whatsoever.
And
what I want to know is, has Tszyu got to mandatory ranking for any governing body? Who's he fought to get that ranking?
Yeah, I mean,
don't be telling me that's just he's been given that ranking because of his name, because that's just not right.
You could level the same, couldn't you? The guy who just beat Bradis. You know, how the hell did he get into that mandatory position?
Yeah, true.
So, you know, obviously Australian boxing's thriving. So
they don't fight anyone, do they? They just fight Australians until they get to a world ranking, and then all of a sudden they're on the world scene across in the States or here.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't understand it, mate.
I think this is a mismatch. Like, I'll go as strong as that. So
we're going to find out just how good Tszyu is, aren't we? I know that Liam Smith's been wanting Tszyu for quite some time. He believes he's got the beating of him, and I think he's got the beating of him as well. I agree with you in that Charlo beats him comfortably. I won't go as far as to say that it's a one-sided fight, but he beats him convincingly for me. He probably stops him late on.
Next topic, we're flying through him tonight. So this is an interesting one. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but Devin Haney has said that it may not be George Kambosos next that he fights. Quite interesting. I thought that rematch clause was all sewn up, but Eddie has not come out and denied the fact. And he went in quite hard on George Kambosos. He says that the rematch doesn't necessarily take place in Australia. And if it happens in America, A, you don't think Kambosos has got the name to fill a stadium, and B, that he didn't use his words, but bang average as a fighter. So Sean, where do you rate Kambosos? Do you think he had a cup final against when he won the world titles?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I do. I think he on his worst night, and he was the best he could be. You know, he fight against Lee Selby was the first time I saw him.
Yeah,
to be honest. But yeah, I think he boxed out of his skin tight. Any world lightweight will have to beat him of him, I think.
And what about you, Andy? Do you think Kambosos is elite?
No, I don't, and I agree with Sean. Any elite fighter beats him. Teofimo had a bad night. He was too his own arse, mate, along with his dad. But you know, both say each other up his own arse because shocking the way they were going on before the fight, and all of their energy was sapped before he even entered the ring. Concentrating too much on the rubbish that goes along with it, and not focusing his game plan. He beat Kambosos easily in another fight. Say again.
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting because you could argue that Teofimo looked at against Lomachenko, couldn't you? So what goes around comes around to some degree.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Lomachenko's come out and says that he wants a winner of Haney versus Kambosos. So if it's Devin Haney, who wins that fight? Lomachenko Haney, Sean.
Oh, I think Lomachenko beats him in a very close fight.
What about you, Andy?
Yeah, Lomachenko's got too much ring craft, mate. Haney's very, very good. Very good. I'm not taking anything away from him. But Lomachenko's movement and footwork beats everybody for me. I don't think there's a single fighter in that division. The only problem for Lomachenko is he's come up in weight, and he's small at the weight. That's his only downside. But I still think he's got enough left to beat them all.
I think Haney beats him. I think he beats Lomachenko
because of his size.
And a little bit fresher.
Right.
So a damn good fight. I'd like to watch it. I think it'll be a close one. But I think Haney would just take it. So hopefully we'll find out because Haney's got Kambosos' number, hasn't he? You know.
Yeah. What is interesting is that during the fight and after the fight, they were all saying it was sewn up that the rematch was going to be in Australia. So what's changed?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because nothing's been announced of yet. And normally quite quick, aren't they, in announcing the rematch date? So there might be some validity in what Haney's saying.
Good evening, Ryan. How are you, pal?
So, very interesting. So, Andy, I'll let you take the lead on the next one. It's the BT card for this weekend, which I don't think is particularly a strong one. But I'll let you take it through it.
Yeah, before I do, Sean, what's your opinion on this BT card?
I agree. I don't think it's particularly strong at all.
So we'll fly through these topics then. So we'll start off with Nick Ball against Nathaniel Kakalolo. I think you pronounce it Kakololo. Yeah, I got it right.
Good effort. I'm sure it's something I've ordered, but we'll go with it.
You know what what is very, very interesting is every single one of these top 4 fights are all for either the WBC, the IBF, or the WBA silver titles. What they do, just giving them out like confetti these days. Every single one of these fights. It downgrades belts for me.
Uncle Frank getting his fighters up them rankings. That's what this is.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the fight. Nick Ball against, we'll just say Nathaniel. Obviously, last time out, Nick Ball surprised a number of people
Great performance.
beating Isaac Lowe, which I think was a fantastic fight.
Yeah.
I think you called it, Carl. I'll give you this one. You called Nick Ball beat Isaac Lowe. He's a very good fighter, mate. Very good fighter. Very aggressive. Don't know anything about our friend Nathaniel, but he's 14. He's 14-3. Doesn't hit very hard by the looks of it. He's only got 6 KOs. So I'm guessing Frank's done his own work and he's brought him over for Nick to, like you say, get up the rankings.
Yeah, I think Nick Ball will get a bit of a push now, won't he, promotion there?
Do these silver titles get you in the top 10 or the top 5? I can't remember.
No, I think it's top 15.
Oh, is it?
From So, like I said, it's a rankings game, isn't it?
Sean, what's your opinion on Nick Ball?
Yeah, I really like him. I think when Frank Warren initially signed him, I don't really think he thought that much of him. I think to some extent Isaac Lowe, wasn't he? And then he's pulled off these good wins. And yeah, he's really impressed me.
He wasn't supposed to win that fight, was he? Let's be honest.
And he's now being taken seriously from it, so good on him. Good on him for stepping up, taking it, stepping into them big shoes and doing the job. This is a very good fight, and I think fight of the night. Lennox Clark against Mark Efron. What a fight this looks like it's going to be. So Lennox Clark is 21-1. He's only lost to Lerone Richards. And Mark Efron, 27-2-1. He's only lost to Liam Williams and Denzel Bentley. So they're in very, very good company, both of them. Mark Efron is a banger, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's got 21 knockouts from his 27 fights, which is some serious going.
Isn't this for the Commonwealth and British super middleweight title?
It's for the Commonwealth, British, and the vacant IBF International Silver.
Whatever that means. Yeah. But obviously, with the British being on the line, these two will want to win, won't they? So.
Yeah, so Lennox Clark's currently the Commonwealth British champion. So I don't care what anybody says. The British title is a beautiful belt. And any fighter worth a salt ought to be trying to win that title outright. Loads of fighters these days, mate, they just skip it. They go this international European route where they get these silver titles instead. They're fighting no one better than a British level fighter when they win these silver titles. But it seems to, for some reason, give them better world rankings. I don't know. I just think it's a money spinning game from the boards themselves. You know, it's another belt that you have to pay sanctioning fees for, I'm guessing. I don't know. Bit of politics involved there, I think.
I mean, don't take this wrong, but it does show what that super middleweight division's in compared to yesteryear. The fact that these two are fighting for these belts, because if you read the names off of who's held these belts in the past, these two guys wouldn't have got anywhere near it.
No, very true. Yeah, the super middleweight division isn't what it was. But all divisions go through them little cycles, mate. You know, a couple of years' time, we'll be saying it's a brilliant division again when some big names pop through and all move up in weight or whatever. But for me, this is going to be a very, very close fight. How'd you see it going, Sean?
I think I would favour. I think since he's teamed up with Jay Gallagher, he's sort of really improved. I think Gallagher brings the best out of him. I think he sort of lacked a bit of confidence early on in his career, but since he's teamed, I think he'll put on a performance, and I think he'll get the win.
What's your prediction? How do you think the fight goes?
Efron late stoppage.
Carl?
I'm going Efron points. I'll keep this brief. I think Efron's slightly better of two very limited fighters. I think he does the things a little bit better than Lennox Clark. So I think Efron. I can see this going all the way to points, so I'm going to go Efron points.
I'm going to book the trend a little bit, and I'm going to say Clark. I think Efron might be just a little bit long in the tooth. I think Clark's the fresher of the fighters, and I think he wins on points. Moving on. Hamza Shiraz against Francisco Torres. Again, for the vacant WBC silver title. This is at middleweight, obviously. I know Carl's. I'll come to Carl first here because I know your opinion on Shiraz. Carl, you're not a big fan, are you?
No, he's a big guy at middleweight. I'll give him that. He's got plenty of reach on him. But I'll level the same at this guy that I level at Conor Benn. You know, they're giving him all this promotional push. You know, every time you put BT Sports on, they've got an advert of him. But he's getting to that point now where he needs to jump in with a credible opponent, someone of note. So, yeah, and I think there's a PR job to be done on this guy because I think he's a bit like Marmite. I'm not sure the British public have got behind him yet. So they're looking at him being a ticket seller. There's a bit more work to be done. So I think this is a gimme fight for Shiraz. I think he'll get him out there mid-rounds, 4-5. And I think he's just continue building his profile. There you go.
I hate to harp on about it, but the Bradley Skeet fight sticks in a lot of boxing fans' minds, don't it? And they're not forgiving him for it. I mean, I suppose you can't necessarily blame the fighter too much. You know, that should be put on the referee and the board for not doing anything about it, not giving Bradley Skeet a rematch or whatever, however you want to put it. But it stunk, didn't it? It stunk.
Yeah.
Sean, what do you think of Shiraz? Do you think he's got many levels?
Yeah, but I don't particularly like his style. He reminds me a bit like Lawrence Okoli when he fought. Sort of, he's got that sort of style, I think. And yeah, he's probably European level at the highest. But yeah, I'm not particularly a fan of his style.
He was getting schooled by Bradley Skeet. Let's have it right. This is a Bradley Skeet at the end of his career as well, and he was getting schooled by Bradley Skeet for the whole fight until that whole situation happened, and then Bradley Skeet lost his head a little bit. Naughty fight, and to me that just made me look at Shiraz and wonder whether he goes to the next level. You know, is he capable of mixing it at world level? Is he capable of mixing it at European level even?
I think the problem is as well, he's got a lot of people who are yes men around him, telling him how great he is. And you don't see anybody who's going to keep him grounded. I'm not in his camp, but that's how it looks from the outside looking in.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Time will tell. I mean, he's very big at the weight. I mean, how long can he stay there? He looks massive.
Yeah.
Shall we move on, chap?
Yep. It's quite an interesting one, this. So there's been a little bit of footage come out regarding Billy Joe Saunders, who's training with Ben Davison. Obviously, he looks heavy at the minute, but if anyone can get that weight off him with Ben Davison after the great job he done with Tyson. Now, I just want to get your two thoughts on the rumours are that, and we'll come on to Ben and Eubank, but there's possibly going to be a fight at the end of the year between Billy Joe Saunders and Eubank Jr. It sells. There's that needle there, but you'd hope that Billy Joe has a fight in between that, wouldn't you? So, Sean, what are your thoughts? Obviously, Andy, you thought he'd retire. You'd very vocal, saying you didn't think he would come out again. I said he would, didn't I? I said he wouldn't leave it like that. So, Sean, who do you think he should, what are your thoughts and who should he fight next?
Good to see him back. I think maybe John Ryder, maybe a sort of catch us over Super, just to get him back into things at the end of the year. I think that could be a really interesting fight.
Does he beat Eubank Jr. if he's anywhere near his best?
I'll have to see how he is in his fight back, but yeah, I think he probably does.
What about you, Andy? What are your thoughts on Billy Joe coming back?
I question his motivation. It can only be for money, mate. I very much. I think he's had the want to be world champion again. That's probably gone now. It's very, very hard when you've had a fight like that that's gone the way it's gone. And because of who he is as a character, he'll see that as an embarrassment. And it's not an embarrassment. You know, losing to Canelo's not an embarrassment, but he will see it as one because he really, truly believed in his heart he was going to win that fight. So that would have been a massive blow. And that's probably why he's ballooned up a bit and gone on a bit of a bender and enjoyed himself. You know, forgot about boxing and just gone and done what he's wanted to do with his mates and his family and whatever. I don't know, mate. It's a long way back at this stage in his career to lose all that weight and to get back to fighting at that top level. I hate to say it, but I don't think he'll be the same fighter. And if he does fight Eubank, and you know I'm not a big Eubank fan, I just don't think he's going to be motivated enough to get back to that real top level.
Yeah, I don't personally think it's for money. I don't think his ego will allow him to leave on them terms, in terms of that defeat against Canelo. That's where I think he gets his motivation. So, right. And like I said, but only time will tell. But we need him in the game because he's a character. You know, and one thing you're going to get from Billy Joe is entertainment. Yeah. So, okay. Next one. This is one of my favourite heavyweights, you know. So, Joe Joyce has relinquished the British heavyweight title. Today he tweeted out saying it's time to move on to world honours. Fabio Wardley was straight on Twitter, straight on to Gorman saying, now it's on, let's do it. So, I'll hold back from my views about his geezer. So, I'll come to Andy first. Andy, what Wardley, and does he beat Gorman?
No, he don't. I don't rate Wardley one little bit. What's he sat at now? Wardley sat at, I did write it down, 14-0. And I can't name an opponent. He's been that memorable. He's got 13 KOs in them 14 fights, which probably tells you a lot as well, because he's not a banger. I think he strolls through fights, mate, and he only switches on and gets engaged when someone lands on him. The problem is when you're going with someone of Gorman's size, when Gorman lands on him, it's going to be a different matter from when these other fighters land on him. I see Gorman stopping, mate. Gorman looks switched on now. I think he's gone through that phase of not taking boxing seriously. Me and you were at his last fight on Channel 5, Cole. He looks determined.
He looks in shape.
Focused. And he's a proper nice fella. He's a proper nice fella.
And he looked in shape as well. He looked in shape as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and I want him to do well because, like I say, he's a real, genuine, nice bloke. I'm a little bit surprised that this is happening. Eddie Hearn, I'm assuming Fabio Wardley's still with DAZN, is he?
Yeah, I assume so. But he's been moved. He's been on Channel 5. This one is. If it lands, it'll be on Channel 5. It's not official yet, but that's what the rumours are.
Well, that says that Eddie Hearn thinks that it's one or two things. He's not bothered about Fabio Wardley. You know, is this going to be a case of Eddie Hearn going, well, here's your chance. Here's your chance to prove to me how good you are. I'm going to go send you onto another channel, go and beat their guy, and then we'll talk about giving you a push. It's either that or he thinks a lot of Wardley and he thinks, oh, it's an easy fight. I'll send him on there. It don't matter. One or the other.
Well, Eddie Hearn come out in an interview only this week saying he's only got so many fights that are the priority for his own. And if you're not on that list of priority, if it comes in, as in Liam Smith, a shed load of money that he can't compete with, he'll advise him to go with goodwill. So that tells you all you need to know. He's only got so many slots, hasn't he? So I think you're going to see a lot of movement in these fighters. We did predict it months ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, so obviously with AJ now, I mean, we've not even spoken about, it looks like that fight definitely be on Sky, the AJ Usyk fight. I'm sure DAZN senior management are chuffed about that. They put an announcement out 1 week and then AJ's fighting on Sky. Why wouldn't you hold back the press release? So,
dreadful PR stunt, mate. Dreadful.
Sean, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's actually closer than a lot of people think. Although Wardley hasn't got the amateur experience in boxing, I think he's quite sort of a hard, tough guy to beat. I don't think he'll be a walkover for Gorman. With Wardley, though, as you say, once he gets hit, that's only when he really engages in the fight. I think he's got to learn how to box properly first. I know that's easier said than done. But, yeah, I think it's a close fight. I can see it potentially going to...
I don't think it goes that far. I think Gorman will work him out and knock him out. That's our average, I think Wardley is. I think you could get in shape, Sean. If we give you 13 weeks to get in shape, I think you could jump in and knock Wardley out. So, yeah, bang average for me. You know, all he's fought at the minute is journeymen and people that have got a name, but they're over the hill. So, if he gets made, because Gorman looks like he's got the bit between his teeth at the minute, and I concur what Andy said. Well, a nice fella. I know nice guys they don't always come last. So moving on, we couldn't let this show go without talking about this one. So it looks like this is getting closer and closer. You know, certain news outlets in the UK have come out and said it's all done and dusted. Mooting October the 8th, I think it is. Is that the Saturday, October the 8th? Talking about the O2. I mean, I'm thinking this might go a bit bigger than the O2. But Sean, what do you think? You know, what your thoughts on the fight? Is it a circus or would it be a serious fight? They're looking at catch weight, aren't they? 156, I believe.
Yeah, it's a fight I'm sort of warming to, really. Sort of initially, I didn't see what it done for either of them. But sort of when you think about it more logically, the divisions they're both in, neither's remotely close to a world title or a big fight in their own weight, really. So this is probably the right move to make for them both. I think the weight probably still Eubank over Ben. I know a lot of people have said that it will kill Eubank making 156. But you've got to remember that a big welterweight, so him going up bad for him, and yeah, that's sort of my initial thoughts on it, really. What do you both think?
Well, there better be a rehydration clause in there, Sean, or if not, Eubank Jr. is going to walk into that ring on that Saturday night. Absolutely massive. So I'll give my thoughts first. It does nothing for my argument regarding Colin, does it, about why is he not fighting the higher echelons, his weight division?
Nope.
It's a good earner. I give him that because I wouldn't like to think how many belts, how many views it's going to do. The lead-up will be absolutely gold. You could have both the old men there as well. But from a fighting spectacle, will I watch it? Yes, so I'm a big hypocrite. But I'm just thinking, come on, lads, you should really be concentrating on the higher echelons of your weight division. So that's my thought, really. And
I'm annoyed, Carl. I'm annoyed, mate. I don't want this fight to happen. I want this fight to happen when both of them are on the verge of retirement, because then it's a big money earner, and you can't blame him for a money cash grab. At the end of the day, the reason Ben and Eubank Senior had a rivalry that's still talked about today is because they were both in the prime at world level at middleweight, and then they both move up to super middleweight, and they're both in the prime at super middleweight at world level. That's what made the clash as important as it was. That's why you got 20 million people watching it on primetime TV.
Yeah.
Neither of these two are world level at their own weight. And they're not even in the same weight. It's just It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be happening, mate. Not right now. Conor Benny's being advised so badly here, because this does absolutely nothing for his career. What does it do for him apart from buy him a new Porsche? What does it do other than that? It does nothing for his boxing career. Okay, maybe he can turn around and say, look at the size of my cojones. I'm moving up 2 weights to fight a dangerous fighter, a massive middleweight. Look at my cojones. You know, I told you I'd fight anybody. That's going to be the mentality. But what does it do for him at welterweight? Because I've said it already. For him to get up to middleweight, which is pretty much where it's going to be at. For him to get up to middleweight, he's going to have to bulk. He's going to have to bulk into it. He's going to have to put loads of muscle on. For him to then try and lose that muscle to get back down to welterweight, it's a dangerous thing for him to do. And he could end up not being the same fighter at welterweight when he goes back down. Having to ball that muscle back off. It don't sit right with me, mate. He's been advised very, very, very badly here. The fight makes loads of money. No two ways about it. And it sells massively. It'll be on pay-per-view and it sells massively. But it sells because of the names. Because of the background. Because, like you've just said, the 2 old men are going to be in the corners, aren't they? They're bound to bring them over for it. Why wouldn't they? Yeah. Why make the fight if you're not going to do that and have that pantomime? I absolutely love Nigel Benn. Absolutely love Nigel Benn. And I've got lots and lots and lots of respect for Chris Eubank. And I love Conor Benn as well. Because I think he's capable of pulling big things off. But not if you're taking fights like this, mate. It's just not good for you. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. It just don't sit right for me.
And I'll say it again. I mean, again, this isn't... People think I'm going in on Conor, but I'm not. I'm just bored of it here. I'm bored of it because how many fights are we in now? You know, he should really be rubbing shoulders with the Keith Thurmans of this world.
Yeah.
You know, Eddie should be breaking the bank to get Thurman over to the UK or even take Conor out to America. He's a good-looking kid, very marketable. So why wouldn't you want to take him out to America?
The fact that this fight's even being considered by Eddie Hearn tells you that they're struggling to make opponents for him. They're struggling to get the fighters that they want at the right money. Because if they're trying to drag the likes of Keith Thurman or Danny Garcia over here, or anyone of that ilk, if they're trying to drag someone like that over here, it's serious money.
Am I right in thinking that the majority of the higher echelons of Ben's weight are PBC fighters as well?
Majority of them, yeah.
Who don't do business with Eddie Hearn?
Yeah.
So there could be an argument that Ben's being penalised for his promoter again. You know?
Yeah, but you clearly can't see that, mate. Someone made a comment in the week about whether... It was Matt, actually. He's not on tonight, unfortunately. It was Matt. He made a comment in the week about whether we thought Lee Wood would be better off leaving Matchroom.
Yeah, he did.
I'd point the same thing out for Conor Benn. Is Conor Benn better off? Would he be better off with a promoter that's not Eddie Hearn? Because realistically, he's guided him to this point now of Ben's getting a name in the UK, right? But boxing fans are not giving him the respect that he maybe even deserves because of the people that he's being matched against. He leaves all that to his promoter.
The problem is, if they're anything like me, I can only talk about my opinion is, I almost feel cheated, and that's a strong term, but I feel cheated by who he's jumping in with. Because he keep ramming it down my throat, I'll fight anyone. I'm sure he would. But Eddie Hearn, you know, he's going to end up having this big padded record if you're not careful with no names on it. I think they're reluctant to throw him in with the world champions. I'll be honest with you. I think they're very reluctant. Well, they're not going anywhere.
No.
So he's either good enough or he's not. So it's about time we find out. Because
you look at, you look at who's young at the top, very top end.
Ennis.
Ortiz and Boots Ennis stand out a mile, don't they?
Yeah.
David Haver's got a few years left in him. Again, he's going nowhere. But the two top boys, the two real top boys that are young, are going nowhere. So at some point, if he's got ambition to be world champion, he's going to have to fight them.
Yeah.
So why not be fighting a Thurman right now? Thurman's past his best. Come on. Danny Garcia's past his best. But they're still legitimate top-level fighters. They're still legitimate fighters that could be fighting for world titles right now. They're the fighters that Ben needs to be going in with.
And what a great learning fight. See, people, it's frightened of losing that are also into.
I don't know why. You learn so much as a fighter.
Yeah.
He never worried his old man. He didn't put Nigel Benn, when he lost to Michael Watson, did it put him off going in against Eubank and becoming a world champion? No. Did he, when he lost to Eubank, did it put him off going to super middleweight and becoming a world champion? No. It made him stronger.
I think one of the reasons Conor Benn's been sort of dying for a big, and sort of looking at it from an alternative view, you would probably say that Ben versus Eubank, other than AJ Fury, is the biggest British fight between two of our fighters, wouldn't you?
But he's got British opponents. He's got British opponents in his weight division that he could have jumped in with. Couldn't he?
You don't want to fight him, mate. You don't want to fight him.
I know McKinson's not a bigger name, Sean, from a commercial perspective, but from a credibility perspective and a ranking perspective, maybe not the casual fans, but the hardcore fans would much rather see him jump in with McKinson than they would Eubank Jr.
Yeah, so, I agree.
I don't.
They purposely negated the British route, mate. They didn't want to go down the British route because fighters at British level are too tough. They're tough fights. They're the sort of fights that put years on your career. And they've chose to unpick European fighters that are no better than the British level fighters he could have gone in with. They've chose to go down that route.
Wasn't it Jenkins who he was going to fight, but then wasn't he? Or something like that.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
The British title, I believe.
Yeah, it was actually, Jenkins, yeah.
Yeah, so,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see this fight. It makes. I mean, we all know Chris Eubank's not in boxing for legacy. He's not in boxing to win world titles. He's in boxing for money. He's in boxing for big paydays. Otherwise, he would have fought Golovkin when he had the chance. When he pulled out, and Kelvin took the fight instead. He had that chance to fight Golovkin then, and he didn't take it because they weren't happy with the money they were getting. If he believed he was world level, he would have took that fight. It was on his terms in the UK. He would have took that fight, won the belt, and then he could have demanded whatever money he wanted. But he's not about that, mate. He's about money.
I always revert back to Tyson Fury versus Klitschko, where basically he went out to Germany earning pennies.
Yeah. Because
he knew he could go out there and stop him, then he could demand whatever purse he wants.
And look what's happened to him now.
Yeah.
Look at the amount of endorsements and money and well deserved praise and fortune he's got.
He has believed in his own ability. That's the point I'm making.
Exactly right. But other fighters don't do that. And unfortunately, Eubank's a prime example of that. He just doesn't, mate, when he can. He could have had these fights and he just hasn't took them.
Yeah.
And he keeps banging on about fighting fighters that are 2 weights below him. Oh, come on.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll touch on this topic again as the weeks roll on. So moving on to Ryan Garcia's up fighting on Saturday. I've gone on record saying that I like Garcia. I think he's going to be an elite fighter. He's had his problems out the ring. Fortuni's no walkover though, so this should be a good scrap if he can stay away for it. So Sean, what do you think about it? Give me a breakdown of the fight and how you think it's going to go.
Yeah, I think it's a good learning fight for Garcia, actually, at this stage of his career. I've seen a few comments online saying that they potentially think he could lose. Agree with that.
I've read that.
I think, Garcia under Goose and his new training sort of new skills out that we're not seeing, he'll sort of get a late stoppage round 10 onwards, I think.
Where do you think Garcia will go next, Sean?
Well, the winner of Micken will be a decent fight for him. Don't think he'll fight for a world title. But yeah, I still think he needs 2 or level fights before that.
And what do you reckon? Do you reckon this one's playing out?
I think they've picked this fight very well. I think they're getting Fortuna at a good time in his career. On record, he's got a decent KO percentage, so he looks like he can bang. And you can be a little bit blindsided by looking at a fighter's career. And the problem with Ryan Garcia for me, and it needs to be taught out of him, is he keeps his chin way too high. He is going to get caught one day, because that's how he fights, and nobody's drilled it out of him. That when he throws combinations, his chin is so open.
Well, he got caught against Campbell, didn't he? That was every night.
Well, he did, but we're talking about a fight that was past his best there, aren't we?
I'm just saying, though, if he can bind you.
Yeah, well, this is what I mean. But when he goes against him, we're on one of the real big talents in that weight. There's a very good chance he gets knocked out. I don't think Fortuna's that fighter. I see Garcia beating him, and he probably stops him with a trademark body shot. Mid to late rounds, say round 7 or so, I think. He is talented, Garcia. Don't get me wrong, mate. I'm not completely down on him. He is a very talented fighter, but he needs that drilling out of him, because that he's going to get caught with that big overhand right. And someone will just work on that. Someone will work on that, and they'll go in with him, and they'll wait for that opportunity, because it comes all the time in the fight. They'll wait for that opportunity, and they'll land that big shot. And against one of the real top-end fighters with power, he ain't going to get back up from it.
My concerns around Garcia, he needs some stability now. He's had all them issues outside the ring, which any of us could suffer with. But, you've had Canelo coming out questioning his commitment to the game. So there's no smoke without fire normally, is there? So I think he's got all the talent in the world, but he needs to apply work ethic as well. So he likes a celebrity lifestyle as well, doesn't he? He likes a bit of Instagram, a bit like him. So, Sean's got more followers, I might add. But he needs to concentrate on the fight game now, and get and remain active as well. He needs to get more active. So that's my thoughts on him. But I think he wins. I don't think he'll take that long. I'm going round 6. Right. I think he'll be after making a bit of a statement this weekend. So final topic of the evening. Deontay Wilder has announced he's rumoured to be fighting Elenius. So that puts to bed any argument about Del Boy. I'm personally glad to see Wilder back in the heavyweight division. He's a character. I find some other heavyweights quite boring. And I'll stick to my statement. No, I don't see anybody else being able to do to Wilder what Tyson Fury did. I think he beats the majority of them, because he's just got to land that right hand. So I'm glad to see him back. Sean, what about you?
See him back. It's a bit of a horrible fight for him to come back to. He can make the best of boxers look awful. So I think maybe a different opponent I would have picked for him. But yeah, I agree. It's good to see him back.
And
I'm actually quite. So I've not seen this until you just put it up, mate. I'm actually surprised at the opponent. Very dangerous fight for Wilder to come back into. Let's not get this twisted. If he lands that big shot, he knocks out almost everybody. There's not many fighters can take that power. But he's been outboxed, hasn't he? He was outboxed by Ortiz, who's about 300 years old. If
I don't think it worries him though, does it?
Because he don't seem to, mate. But the problem is, it maybe start worrying him now because he's relied on it. He knows that at one point in the fight, he's going to get that shot. Well, he's been beat now. I know the record books only say twice, but 3 times by Tyson Fury. And he's relied on having that power late on. And it didn't work for him. So I think you might find that he'll try and be a bit more aggressive early on. And you might see him knocking people out a lot quicker than he used to. But you also might see him getting laid out himself because he's going to try and engage a bit more soon than he would. Like I say, I'll go back to it. He was getting outboxed by a 900-year-old Ortiz. And the only reason he won that fight, mate, was because Ortiz blew. He nearly got stopped in that second round.
I think he knocks Elenius out. Elenius is nothing to write home about. It was done. He ain't have to go looking for him, has he?
No.
They'll knock him out.
The fighters he's going to struggle against are the slicker fighters. And there's not many of them in the heavyweight division. So you're right, he does beat most of them. But he's vulnerable, mate, because he can't box.
My argument is that none of the others are good enough to Lando on him.
The thing that he's got to his advantage is his height and his reach. And obviously everyone's worried. They try and stay out of range from the big bomb. But you've got to land them shots. And it's been shown. I know Tyson Fury is a different character and his league's above everyone else in the division. But it's been shown if you put it on him, it was shown against Fury. Ortiz showed it as well. If you put it on him, he don't know what to do, mate. He can't fight on the back foot.
So who do you think beats him then in the heavyweight division?
If you put it on him, anyone can beat him.
All right, then rephrase that to try and get an answer. Who's good enough to beat him?
Joe Joyce beats him.
Okay.
Usyk beats him. Usyk's got too much ring craft. Don't get me wrong. At any point in the fight, on any of these names that I put in, can get wiped out like that because that's the amount of power he's got. But what I'm saying to you is, if fighters put it on him, no one puts it on him. There's 2 people that have put it on him: Ortiz and Tyson Fury.
Joyce is a good chat because he wouldn't stop coming forward. I'd like to see Wilder land clean on Joyce.
Ortiz and Tyson Fury are the only 2 people that have put it on him, and he looked like he didn't know what he was doing in either of the fights. It was like I've just said, and I'll say it again, the only reason he won the Ortiz fight was because Ortiz is 700 years old, walks into the ring with a Zimmer frame, and he blew up, mate. He gassed. That's the only reason he lost that fight.
I think it's true what Wilder says, though. He said it to Fury, you've got to be perfect for 12 rounds. I've only got to be perfect for 5 seconds.
Yeah, but it's the wrong attitude, isn't it?
I know, but when you got the power he has, Tyson Fury is very quick to say that about his freakish power, isn't it?
Everyone said it, mate. And majority of boxers, old generation boxers, new generation boxers, they're all saying it is probably the heaviest puncher in boxing history. Fantastic. But you need more than that. His record's so padded, though, Carl. There's no one on his record, no one on his resume, apart from Tyson Fury and an old man that nearly beat him.
What about you, Sean?
So padded.
Sorry, and what about you, Sean? Who do you think beats Wilder?
Beats him, but 2 fights I'd like to see him against is Dillian Whyte and Hrgovic. I think they'll be decent fights.
Hrgovic, I like that one because he's a big old lump into him. But I think Dillian Whyte gets knocked out. Because
I think it'll almost be a shootout between the 2.
Yeah, but would Whyte be able to get on the inside? Because the long levers that Wilder's got, aren't there? And one that does intrigue me is AJ versus Wilder. That is a very intriguing fight. Very intriguing. But I think he's good for the heavyweight division because he gets shot. One thing he does do is get you on the edge of your seat, does he?
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. Because you're waiting for it, aren't you? You're waiting for that big bomb. You're waiting for it to happen. You know, at some point he's going to try and land it.
Whereas other fights, they're like Snorefest, aren't they? At least Wilder, you know what's coming, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Andy, before we bring it to an end? Anything else you want to discuss?
Nothing I can think of at the minute, mate.
What about you, Sean? Anything you want to throw in the mix?
Not top of my head, I'm not going.
Okay, no worries. So in that case, then we'll bring the show to an end. So thank you for all the comments on the side. Sean, thank you very much for your contribution. And thank you very much.
As always,
we've got some videos dropping next week, which we will pre-record and put out. But live again next Thursday, 7 p.m. As ever, like, comment, subscribe. If you've got a view or you disagree with any of us, post it in the comments. And we'll see you next week. Take care.